It is now 6 o'clock, and I will call to order the special meeting of the Lost Pines Groundwater Conservation District, board meeting of Monday, December 21st, 2015, here at Bastrop City Hall, 1311 Chestnut Street, here in Bastrop. We have several people present tonight that I'd like to recognize. We have our Honorable Representative Kyrie here to listen to our hearing. We appreciate you taking time out, sir, to be here tonight. We have the Honorable County Judge, Paul Fisher from Lee County, Judge. We also have the Honorable Charles Murray, Precinct 2. Thank you, sir. And we also have David McMurray, Aqua Water Supply Corporation General Manager. David, thank you. Just a couple of things that I would like to point out to you tonight that may be a little different than last time you were here. You may not notice, but the room is completely surrounded with cameras. This will be filmed, and also it will be going out live video stream. If you want to text somebody to watch it, all you got to do is tell them to go to their computer and type in btxn.tv, and the web page will flip up, and there'll be a big block on there that says live. Just hit that, and they'll pick this meeting up that's going on tonight. And then when the IT department does its programming, this will run on our public access channel probably sometime next week. So just want everybody to be aware that you are being filmed tonight, and we'll be filming all of our council meetings. Actually, this will be the first full-blown meeting that we film, so we're kind of using this as a test tonight. We've added one other aspect. Colin, could you just come up here and show the audience if there's something they want to show the board? We've tried to make it as easy as possible for you. So we've installed some really high-tech stuff here above me. But if you have a, I don't
have a document, but
so if you have a piece of paper you want to show us something, just lay it down there underneath that, and it'll flash right up there on the screen for us.
just a push of this button here that's got a picture of a computer and a picture of this thing.
Right. So just push that if there's a document you want to show us or something tonight when we conduct the hearing. Secondly, this is a special meeting, and we do have always as on our agenda is a public comment. That is for anything that is not on the agenda. I know there are other items pending before the district at this time, but we are here for one particular item, and if you want to address us, you certainly can, or make comments under the public side, public comment, but the board and I cannot respond back to you if you make a comment under public comments, because it's not an item that's posted on the agenda. So with that, I will move to the public comment section. Okay. And is there anyone who wants to speak for anything that's not on the agenda tonight at this time regarding any item that you'd like the board to take under consideration for a future agenda? Okay. Being no public comments at this time, I will move at 6:05 p.m. that the board will move into closed executive session pursuant to section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code, so that the board may seek.
I wasn't understanding the question that you were asking a while ago.
Yes, sir.
I signed up to speak to that.
Yeah, if it's an item on the agenda, you'll be given an opportunity to speak to that in the item's agenda. All I'm saying is, if you want to speak on public comment, we cannot come back. So if you want to speak to us tonight, you're going to be given a time if it's an item on the agenda.
At a later date.
Yeah, at a later time tonight. Yes, sir. Sorry if I create any confusion. Just trying to keep us on task. With that clear up, again, we will go into closed executive session pursuant to Section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code, so that the board may seek the advice of its attorney regarding pending or contemplated litigation with Four Star USA Real Estate Group and a proposed settlement of the pending contemplated litigation. The board goes into executive session at 6:05 p.m.
Mr. President, I recuse myself from items number 4, 5, 6, and 7.
So noted. Thank you, David. Okay. I will reconvene the Lost Pines Groundwater Conservation District Board back into regular session at 6:40 p.m. There was no action taken in executive session. The sole purpose of the executive session was for the board to ask any questions of the attorney regarding the documents they had received or questions that were raised in the public comments that were received at the district and forwarded on to us as board members. So with that, I will take us down to item number 5. Also want to point out tonight, if you want to get up and stretch your legs, the screens out there are carrying this live, so you won't miss something. If you need to get up and stretch around, you'll be able to walk right back in here. And same thing going on out there will be going on in here. With that being said, the first item is consideration of and possible action on a proposed settlement agreement between the Lost Pines Groundwater Conservation District and Four Star USA Real Estate Group Incorporated. A copy of the proposed settlement agreement is available at www.lostpineswater.org. We did receive comments, and there were some changes made based upon the public comment that was received. Dave, do you want to get up and speak to those comments for us, please? Dave, for those of you, Mr. David Lean, he's our board attorney. David?
Thank you, Chairman Talbot. First, I want to make a few comments about the content of the settlement agreement and the permit, the form of permit which is attached to the settlement agreement, and the monitoring system agreement, which the settlement agreement contemplates you'll enter into, just on the chance that there's somebody in the room who has not read all 3 of those in detail. First, I want to tell you that your staff has worked extremely hard on this agreement, and your mediation committee has worked extremely hard on this agreement, and it is a good agreement. This agreement does what a number of your constituents have been encouraging you to do for years now. It says to go slow. This agreement goes slow. It authorizes the withdrawal of a maximum of 28,500 acre-feet per year by Four Star in the following way, in 3 steps. The first step is that the permit, the settlement agreement to which it's attached, authorized withdrawal of 12,000 acre-feet per year, just like the permit that you've already issued to Four Star. And there is the possibility that if the things that I'm about to describe don't come to pass, that they will never be authorized to withdraw more than 12,000 acre-feet per year. Four Star would be authorized to withdraw at a second step of 20,000 acre-feet per year under the following conditions. Four Star must pump no less than 6,000 acre-feet per year under this stage for 3 consecutive years. Four Star would then be allowed to come to the district with data about the effect of its pumping, and the documents address the specifics of how that worked. They would have to come to the district with data showing that the district would then not be projected to exceed its DFCs, its desired future conditions. In other words, it's specifically constructed so that you can assure yourselves, based on actual data, that you are managing to achieve your DFCs just as the legislature has instructed you to do. Four Star could not, I'll come back to this in a moment because this was a change we've made to the documents that were posted online. And it's a change that was made with 4Star's agreement in direct response to public comments you've received. 4Star could not step up to 20,000 acre-feet per year during the initial 5-year permit term. So it's a guarantee that 4Star will not pump more than 12,000 acre-feet per year during the first 5 years of the permit. 4Star must then, if it wants to step up to its final stage of 28,500 acre-feet per year, pump no less than 15,000 acre-feet per year. Come to you with data, again, showing you that you are not projected to exceed your DFCs. If you're satisfied that that's the case, or rather if the general manager is satisfied that that's the case, they would then be able to step up to 28,500 acre-feet. And that's the end. That is the maximum they could ever be authorized to withdraw.
So for example, in that 15,000 time frame, if they did 15 and 15, but then went down to 12, the clock resets and they have to go all back over that for 3 more years. Correct?
That's correct. They have to meet those levels for 3 consecutive years. And that's so that you and your general manager can see what the actual effect on the aquifer is from sustained large volume pumping. And here is how the data is going to be collected. 4Star has agreed to install at least 6 new monitoring wells in the district. The location of these 6 new monitoring wells must be approved by your general manager. There's been some confusion over whether that's the case. I assure you that's what the documents say. Those 6 wells must be approved by the general manager. This brings me to the second change that your staff has made to the documents with the agreement of 4Star in direct response to public comments that have been received since the documents were posted. Previously, the monitoring system agreement said the general manager might choose to add what we were calling, in capital letters, other monitoring wells. These are wells that are different than the 6 that 4Star is required to drill. Other monitoring wells in the district, in the monitoring system. And it gave 4Star the opportunity to object to the use of an other monitoring well. There was concern in some of the comments that provided 4Star with an unchecked veto. Without getting into whether that was actually the case, that comment was well taken, and that provision of the monitoring well system agreement was moved from that agreement into the permit itself with 4Star's agreement. And so the selection of other monitoring wells is now subject to the same dispute resolution procedures as other disagreements in the permit that the permit contemplates. So it would come to you if there were a disagreement between your general manager and 4Star about an other monitoring well. It would have first be mediated, the disagreement, with a hydrogeologist, agreed to by the parties. And if there were still no agreement on the use of this other monitoring well, it would come to you for final action. The third difference in the settlement agreement between what was posted online and what you're being asked to act on today is the addition of an entire paragraph to the settlement agreement on adaptive management. The comment was made that it was requested of the general manager, and the general manager requested of 4Star, and 4Star agreed, that the concept of adaptive management be applied to the management of 4Star's permit. The basic idea of which is it gives the district, the general manager, a great deal of flexibility in reviewing the 4Star's permit during the 5-year permit term. That is, you need not simply wait for the 5-year renewal. Have I said that well enough, Jim? In fact, as requested by certain parties, the document itself is a living document. The permit itself is a living document consistent with principles of adaptive management. As I said, this is a good agreement. It is liable to become a model for other districts dealing with requests for high volume permits. It respects the rights of property owners as the legislature has instructed you. It enables you to manage based upon data, based upon sound science. It goes slow, and it requires 4-star, before it can step up to any increased authorized withdrawal, to prove what it has been telling you for years, which is that there is enough water in the aquifer to sustain the sort of pumping that its projects contemplate. And if the aquifer cannot sustain that sort of pumping, and it appears that you will exceed your DFCs, then they will receive no increased authorization to withdraw water. It's my personal recommendation, it's your staff's recommendation that you adopt the settlement agreement and that you be proud of yourselves in doing so. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Does the board have any questions of David? If not, Jim, is there any comments you want to make to the board?
I think David expressed the position of the staff probably better than I can do myself. So I'll yield to
Okay.
on that.
Okay. Before we start public comments, does the applicant wish to make any comments to the board? Mr. Colbert? No? Okay. Then the first item that we have before us for consideration tonight is consideration and possible action on a proposed settlement agreement between the Lost Pines Groundwater Conservation District and 4-Star USA Realty Group. A copy of the proposed settlement agreement, as was previously stated, was available. What we have set forth tonight, if you're speaking as an individual, you will be allotted your normal 3 minutes. If you want to give your time to someone else, we'll allow up to a maximum of 10 minutes that can be passed on to someone else to speak on your behalf, but it cannot exceed 10 minutes, okay? And with that, the first one who has signed up is Mr. Darwin Hanna. Mr. Hanna, how you doing tonight, sir? Good.
Good to be before you.
Good to see you, sir. Thank you.
And one of the things that I was hearing before that I haven't addressed here are the monitoring. And I would think if you have monitors, that is, you're having to monitor an unknown. And think about that. If you have to have monitors, it's because it's something that you don't know. But I came to you talking about speculation. When the outpump exceeds the recharge and is destined to go outside the Bastrop and Lee County lines, then the parasite developers can call it what they may. We the people call it speculation on an unknown outcome that trods on the simple science that guided the original allotment granted. We the people stand with the board's original science-based allotment and against parasites, speculation, and water bankruptcy that would follow. We the people appreciate the board for their courageous stand against pressure and intimidation to violate the very law that puts you in business. We the people do not want to visit you in jail. So please do not break the law that puts you in this business. And on a lighter note, I have a little poem that God put in my mind in 2008, and I will share that with you. The title is Destinations. Life is a journey, not a race. A little bit of heaven when you slow the pace. Without instant thrills, you can survive. Enjoy the quiet peace just to be alive. Tune all your senses to enjoy every sensation. Every moment in life is a destination. Thank you very much, and Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Mr. Hanna, and Merry Christmas as well. I would like to point out one issue. It was, I read through all the public comments and such, and the part of Mr. Hanna's comments. But under the water code, the board cannot differentiate between in-county users and outside county users. We just cannot do that. It's against the water government, Texas Water Code, and then we would be breaking the law. So I just want to make sure, okay? The next person, Mr. Phil Cook. And if you've accumulated some time, just let me know when you get up here.
I'll try to be brief, Mr. Talbot. The comments that I want to make pertain to item 7, though, not item 5. The operating permit, do you still want?
Yes, sir. I will tell you, though, we are not going to take action on item 7 tonight, but I will call it up at that time so you can make your comments on that. We will take an action on item 7 at a later date.
So would you wish for me to just abstain then? I mean.
No, I'll call you up because I'd like to hear your comments during the time before we bring it back to the board.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Mr. David McMurray. David?
Thank you, Mike.
You bet.
I'd like to thank the board first for the opportunity to speak. I'll be very brief. I know you have an important decision before you tonight, and a tough decision. I know you'd like to probably at some point get it out of the way. Recognize that a lot of effort went into coming to this decision and this agreement. However, excuse me, I got cramps. The information or the agreement was not made public until earlier this month. My board, with Aqua Water Supply, I should have said that in the beginning. My board did not have the opportunity to look at this or review it until, or at least in a board meeting until the 14th of December. This increase that is being proposed over time up to 28,500 acre feet, I feel will have a dramatic effect on Aqua's wells and their ability to supply water. However, we have not actually reviewed it or had time to review it with our hydrogeologist. So what I am asking tonight then is a delay of at least 30 days so that we can have that opportunity to see the effect on our wells and before you make the final decision. And that's, I guess, agenda items 4 through 7.
Okay. Anything else?
And that's all I have.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. McMurray? If not, thank you, David.
Thank you.
It's item 6 you're not taking action on. Item 7 you are.
Okay,
Phil Cook, you weren't taking action.
Okay, I'm sorry. It's always good to have the board attorney on prep board. We will not be taking action on item number 6. We will be taking action on item number 7, so I incorrectly advised you, Phil. Herschel Pewitt, did I get it right?
I just want to make a comment, and it's my own ideas and whatever. I've made this comment before. I really believe that any decision we make for water in the distant future or whatever, if we overdo it, the person on the lower end of the totem pole gets ripped off. Like I told before, my mother lived in Lubbock, and they run this water from the Canadian River Project, and it was old salty, slimy water, and every time I went home I had to clean the plumbing out, and she had to put up with this. She couldn't do anything about any of it, and if they'd done things right, she wouldn't have been bothered like that. She had a well, and I don't think we ought to give these people the maximum of anything. If they need some, give it to them. If they don't give them any. If they're operating, they can go so many years operating. That's all they get. And I understand you're under certain laws and everything else, but the low person on the totem pole gets ripped off. And this is just all I want to say.
We appreciate that, sir.
Well, one other thing, while I was told this once, there was a guy back, I think it was, he was a 4-star person back there. And I heard him say, it don't make no difference. It makes a lot of difference to me. So I just want to pass that on.
And
Thank you.
Appreciate your comments. Thank you, sir. The Honorable Representative John Courier. Representatives, come on, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Talbot.
Thank you for coming
And
tonight.
board members as well, thank you for your time this evening. I do represent the 5 counties in District 17 of Lee, Bastrop County, Caldwell County, Gonzales, and Karnes. One thing I think everybody in this room, we can all agree on, is that we would rather be doing something else on a Monday before Christmas. But the decisions that possibly could be made tonight will go beyond the Lost Pines Groundwater Conservation District, will also go beyond just our region, which also could affect legislation in the state of Texas. Continuing on the theme of the letters that I sent to you guys on December 7th and then another one on December 8th, I want to encourage more time for public engagement and study, not just for tonight's actions, but also for future actions. I think we've learned a little bit from tonight's meeting. It is paramount that the public be informed and understand the impacts of these decisions and have time to give the input. There's actually a wealth of information that's sitting behind me that can help us study, and also which that wealth of information helped me in this last legislative session. With that, I want to thank you for giving us more time and extending the settlement agreement and the public comments for tonight. My original letter also requested that the operating permit public comment be extended to January 11th. But as my understanding, I think that through the district court, that extension could only be extended probably until January 8th. Also, per my letter, I continue to ask that the monitoring system agreement, that the public comments for that, just like I asked in the December 8th letter, be extended through February 8th. I appreciate the language in the settlement agreement in the spirit of House Bill 3116, which was our historic use bill that we pushed through the session that looked at historic use. I appreciate the language that actually got put in the settlement agreement, which offers a 2-to-1 cutback per the permit if it's granted. I'd like to read from the December 7th letter in which I stated, I realize the board, the district staff, and the legal assistants have worked continuously on a resolution to this matter. Let me express my sincere thank you for your service. I believe that you, as well as the public, share a common goal of resolving this matter in the best interest of the people of Bastrop and Lee counties. I continue to be of service to you, and I continue to support your decisions, and I thank you for your time and consideration this evening.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We appreciate what you've done for us, too, as well.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Michelle Gangus. Michelle?
I think my comments are more directed at agenda item 7.
Okay, Dorothy Gerdes? Gerdes.
Dorothy and Gary Gerdes donated time to me,
Okay.
as well as Mary Beth Gibson. I think it's signed up.
Okay, so I'm going to put them up there. Dorothy and Gary, and who else did you say? That was it.
Dorothy and Gary Gerdes and Mary Beth Gibson.
Okay. Okay, thank you. With that, we'll jump down to Andy Havarack.
Good evening. Guys, I know what y'all are saddled with. My name is Andy Hofer. I come from Burleson County. I'm a former director with the Post Oak Savannah Groundwater Conservation District. I know what you guys are saddled with and what y'all have to make a decision on. I was a board member during the permitting years with the Post Oak Savannah, I feel they have over-permitted. I was one of the few directors that voted against the last permit that's tied with the Vista Ridge project. Everything hydrologically speaking that we saw with the Simsboro formation, this drawdown is going to affect the outcrop regions where those people will not be able to drop their pumps anymore when they get to the bottom and there's no more water to take. Who's going to be accountable to them? Who's going to give them water? Who's going to pay? Nobody can pay to replace that commodity that gives us life when it's gone. And right now, in that region, I'm not for sure exactly that this region here, we're all above the same aquifer. We're all going to be affected the same. There's a fault line, a Milam-Talco fault, that exists through southern Milam County, separating the lower Simsboro from the upper Simsboro, between the recharge and the well field that's right across the Ayroll Creek into Burleson County from Lee County. And if that recharge, if there's no communication between that fault line, either, whatever the case is, it's over permitted between 4-star, between Blue Water, all these various different permits, the consumption used by Bryan College Station, we're in for a disastrous future. Please consider and be here for the landowners of Burleson and Lee, Milam, Bastrop counties in our future. Thank you.
Thank you. Lauren Ice. Lauren.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good, thank you.
Good.
Thank you for having me here to allowing public comment this evening. Like Mr. Hoverack, I'm going to also talk as a resident who lives outside of your district, but who is going to be affected by the decisions that y'all make this evening. My name's Lauren Ice. I live in Austin. I work with Save Our Springs Alliance. I'm an attorney with them. Save Our Springs works on protecting the Edwards Aquifer, its contributing streams and springs, and the ecosystem out in the Texas Hill Country. I'm here to let you know that folks all over the region have been watching what happens here in Lost Pines. Part of that is because so many people admire you and admire what you've done. We admire the positions that you've taken to thoughtfully protect the groundwater in your district from overpumping, and the forward-thinking approach that you've taken to permitting that helps to ensure groundwater will be available for future generations here in the rural areas as well as the urban areas that need this water. Everyone here in Texas is hearing a lot about the urban-rural divide, the idea that urban centers are coming to grab water from rural areas and rural aquifers. As an Austinite, as a city dweller myself, I'm here to say that I don't want your water. A lot of people in Austin and in the cities don't want your water, and I don't think Austin needs your water. I suspect that a lot of folks along the I-35 growth corridor feel the same way. And in fact, Save Our Springs Alliance is a part of a regional coalition of folks who are becoming more and more concerned by these large permits in the rural aquifers. And again, I love Austin, but I think one of the things that makes Austin so great is that we have, the beautiful hill country to the west, and we have these iconic farms and ranch lands here to the east, and I don't want to lose either of those places. I'd like to see our growing cities invest more in conservation and reuse, repairing aging and leaking systems, and requiring new development to implement water-neutral infrastructure. I think these methods have the potential to save growing cities a lot of water, tens of thousands of acres a year, and methods such as large permits from rural aquifers should be considered as a last resort. These other methods of conservation and reuse can be done much more cheaply and be much more sustainable for everyone in the long run. At SOS, we're concerned about growth and development over the Edwards Aquifer, sensitive contributing and recharge zones, an area where the local water supply is very limited. And contrary to what some will say, providing massive amounts of water from outside the area does not alleviate pumping pressure on the Trinity and the Edwards aquifers. Rather, it increases the pressure and it also adds more wastewater and other types of runoff pollution to that ecosystem. Many say we can't stop growth, we can't stop development in Central Texas no matter what we do. But regardless of your position on this, I think we can all agree that we do have the ability to influence growth patterns. I'm telling you this, even though this is not necessarily in your purview, because insisting that there's nothing we can do about growth is how the development community is justifying these huge permits, these plans to pump and plumb our Central Texas, this California water model to move massive amounts of groundwater to these high growth areas. This plan is not based on true demand. It's based on money. There's a lot of money to be made with this development. These projects are expensive for us to finance. Like I said, I think conservation, reuse, and locally sourced water are cheaper and more sustainable for everyone. So I'd just like to say that y'all need this water. We don't need this water. We applaud the laddered, go slow approach that Lost Pines is advocating.
Your time is up.
Oh, okay. Just in closing, I'd just like to say we hope you guys take the time to really consider the implications of your decisions on this for y'all and the whole region. Thank you again for the time.
Thank you. The next person that has signed up for this item is Tom Glass. Tom? Okay. Is there anyone who didn't sign up that would like to address the board at this time? I'll get you at 7, okay? But anyone else on item number 5? Is there any other additional comments either from staff or our board attorney? Does the board have any questions of our board attorney, our general manager, or our hydrologist?
Yes. What was the date imposed by the district court to reach an agreement? January 7th?
Yes, January 7th. It's not, to be clear, it's not court imposed. Under the agreement, you have 30 days from the date that the district court remanded the permit to your jurisdiction, and that date is January 7th.
How many comments did we get when we extended the deadline?
I believe the number was less than 5 on the extended deadline. It may have been 5 to 6, but it was a small number.
Okay. I'm going to just make a few comments and then I'll turn it over to the board to make any comments you wish before making a motion. First of all, I can say it's been a long journey here tonight, and I think we have, as a board, moved at a pace that was not fast but was slow. When we first posted the agreement on the website, our general manager contacted me and stated that there were concerns that there wasn't enough time to provide comments. So we worked out an arrangement to give you an additional 2 weeks to comment. And so we tried to listen to you as much as we could. And in some of your comments that you have submitted to us tonight, we will not be taking action on item 6, which is the monitoring system. So you will still have an opportunity. There was a lot of comments regarding the monitoring system, and you'll have additional time to comment on that. As John F. Kennedy once said, if I make the right decision, I have 100 fathers, and if I make the wrong one, I'm an orphan. I think this board has worked hard. From my experience in government, 33 or 34 years now, this mediation was entered into voluntarily, both by the board and by 4-Star. And I think the result of voluntarily coming together to address the concerns of what we heard up here over the course of several meetings, and if you have seen the settlement agreement, you'll see that we have met on this several times. I think that we've ended up with a document, as our attorney has said, that allows us better control over our destiny. Had we not taken advantage of that voluntary mediation, we would have ended up in the courtroom. We would have been court ordered to go to mediation. But at the end of the day, I don't think that we would have the agreement that's before us tonight. We would have an agreement that would be dictated to us, and I think this creates a much better working relationship with 4-Star and the district, and we've tried to be as responsive as we can possibly be with some of the stepping stones that we placed in the agreement. And so this was just not arbitrarily arrived at tonight. A lot of consultation with our hydrologist, our attorney, and most especially Jim. I really appreciate all the work that Jim's done on this and giving me the information that I needed. Thank you, Jim. And thank you all for coming. Anybody else has anything to say? Does anybody wish to make a motion on item number 5, which is consideration and possible action on a proposed settlement agreement between the Lost Pines Groundwater Conservation District and 4-Star USA? My only additional comment in your motion, it should include the changes that the attorney went over, that those get put into the agreement before it's signed. So I'm open.
Mr. President, I move the board approve the proposed agreement between the district and 4-Star USA Real Estate Group with the changes Mr. Lean indicated earlier.
Okay. I have a motion from Board Member Prince. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve a proposed settlement agreement between the Lost Pines Groundwater Conservation District and 4-Star USA Real Estate Group, with the understanding that the items listed by the board attorney will be incorporated into this settlement agreement. Any questions from the board?
Mr. Chairman, I understand that the changes that have been recommended based upon the comments that we received, though not having been posted, have been made available to anyone who requested them. Is that correct?
That is my understanding, and also I should have pointed out, it's my understanding that 4-Star is in agreement with those changes.
Thank you.
Okay. And if I misspoke, when I see a nodding of 4-Star, saying yes. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Okay. Carries 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's one, all in favor but one. Carl did. Just because it's the Christmas time and I know that everyone does not want to spend time, since we're not going to take action on the monitoring system, it'll be placed at a later agenda. I'm just going to place no action on that, not unless somebody really wants to come up and speak on item 6. Okay, then we'll postpone item number 6 for no action, and we will be notifying you in advance when that'll be brought up. The next item is item number 7, consideration and possible action on an application of 4-Star USA Real Estate Group for operating permits and transfer permits for wells number 1 through 10 in Lee County, Texas. Copies of the proposed permits were available at www.lostpineswater.org. I'm going to go the way that I was requested, and the first one who asked to speak on this item was Mr. Cook, so Phil, if you want to come up at this time.
Mr. Talbot, it's my understanding that the board is not going to take action on this item tonight?
I was wrong. It's item 6 we're not taking action. We are taking action.
Item 7, okay, thank you.
Yes, we are. That was my mistake.
I do want to thank you and all of the board for all of the hard work and the difficult work and mostly thankless work you've put into this. I know all of y'all have done your very best, and I really appreciate everything you've done. I also appreciate all the effort that Mr. Totten and his staff, Representative Cyrier and his staff, Judge Fisher have done in the last few days on this. I know they've worked through the weekend on this, and thank you all for your efforts, and I think it is a much improved contract. Especially item 4, under the special conditions, item 4A, I think is much improved. And I think it's a well-developed and very understandable and appropriate change to that. My comments are going to be made to the operating permit special conditions 3 and D. They should be, unless the document has been lengthened a lot, they still should be on page 3, I believe. The operating permit specifies that to begin pumping, 4-Star must initially have a binding contract with an end user, 12,000 acre-feet. Well, nothing has changed with that, of course. However, the operating permit allows 4-Star to pump as little as 6,000 acre-feet and still have that pumpage used as a gauge for how well the aquifers are holding up under that pumping. Well, 6,000 acre-feet is not 12,000 acre-feet. You can't honor a binding contract for 12,000 acre-feet with 6,000 acre-feet, and I wonder where that extra water will come from. There's no mention of it in the contract or what to do about that particular item. Okay, once the 12,000 binding contract and end user has been fulfilled and as some time has passed, 4-Star can apply for 20,000 acre-feet if they have a binding contract for that 20,000 acre-feet. Again, that 20,000 acre-feet is to be monitored by 6,000 acre-feet of water at a minimum. Of course, it can be more than that, but 6,000 acre-feet is not 20,000 acre-feet.
Just as a correction, they have to pump 3 consecutive years of 15
Yes, three consecutive. I'm sorry, for brevity, I was trying to not get into all of that, but yeah, there is, the time and the 36 consecutive months and that. Let's just assume that so I can get finished a little more quickly. But anyway, 6,000 acre-feet is not 20,000 acre-feet, and I don't know how you can assume that pumping 20,000 acre-feet is going to be the same as pumping 6,000 acre-feet. By the same reasoning, 28.5 is not 15,000 acre-feet, which is all they have to pump under Phase 4. And as the contract stands, I think it's fundamentally flawed on that basis. I think there are some other dimensions of the operating permit that need to be addressed, and I think you will hear more about that a little later. So I'm asking you not to act on that permit tonight, or the operating permit, until these discrepancies and disparities can be cleaned up. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Phil. Now I'll ask, lost the list here, Michelle to come on up.
Good evening, board members. Representative Cyrier, Judge Fisher, Mayor Dow. We appreciate your support of the public in obtaining the ability to hopefully intelligently comment on the settlement agreement and the permits. My name is Michelle Gagnes. I live in Lee County. I'm an attorney and have been involved in water issues since about December 31, 1998, when the first water grab happened. Tonight I represent 3 local Texas nonprofit corporations, League of Independent Voters, Neighbors for Neighbors, and the Lost Pines Water Defense Fund, all of which joined in public written comments with environmental stewardship. Steve Box sends his greetings to you tonight, and he is on family emergency in Oklahoma and has been trying to help us a long distance. If he were here tonight, I believe he would join in my comments. We endured a very compressed comment period, and we would hope that we could do a little better next time. We appreciate the work that was done to get that comment period extended, but with all due respect, President Talbot, it wasn't enough. It was a few days when we scrambled and we thought we had to turn comments in, and then we were successful getting an extension. We managed to hire a hydrologist in that short amount of time, but he wasn't able to finish his work in that time. Consequently, we were and are still opposed to the permit as drafted, even though we are appreciative that some of our comments were taken. I think of the 3 that were outlined by your attorneys, They were included in our comments, and we appreciate very much that those comments were taken. The comment in the settlement agreement that was taken turned that document into an acknowledgement that the permit, not the settlement agreement, but the permit, a separate agreement, should be a living document. Adaptive management, however you want to call it. That was our idea, and it was probably the idea of others. I haven't seen other comments. But I'm here tonight to ask you to put that adaptive management, that living document language, in the permit itself. And what I mean by that is currently your calculations, your management of 4-star are based on historical data that you'll collect, and that's good. But there's no forward-looking calculations currently in that permit, and that's what we continue to ask for through today, that you would apply forward-looking science based on that data that would take into account that the rate of change as defined in the permit would change over time, that additional pumping inside and outside the district would occur and should be taken into account, and that groundwater surface water interactions should be taken into account. We ask that those three things be put in special condition 5, and we continue to argue that should happen today. And we're told that 4-star, and I must digress here to say what a stellar job Jim Totten did representing the district and also interacting with the public on their comments. We appreciate it very much. But we were told basically that 4-star was done, was not going to agree to put science in the permit, even though they agreed to put adaptive management, which should include science and does include science in the literal terms in the in the settlement agreement. And that the district had done all it could do by tonight. So here's my idea for you. I don't think your standard of care is any less because you're appointed and you're volunteers. If you were elected and paid, you have that same standard of care to all of us, and you have done a wonderful job of carrying out that standard of care all these years. So my suggestion for you tonight is that I hope that the board will take the remainder of that 30-day period that I think we've established ends on January 7. We weren't sure of that date. To reconsider and include our additional, very reasonable requests in the permit. We stand ready to negotiate to that end through the holiday, whatever it takes. In my opinion, 4-star and other water marketers believe that the aquifers have copious amounts to give without damaging them or the people who depend on them. If that's the case, then they have nothing to fear from a clear statement that the use of forward-looking science in addition to the data that we'll collect be implemented in this permit today. I understand that we will hope for cooperation in future to blend in that science down the road. Put it in today so that it can combine with the historic data upon which 4-star wants to rely only, and that unfortunately is miles behind the expected outcome of applying that forward-looking science in managing this permit. As far as the process is concerned, we regret being brought in too late to have more substantive input to assure a better, more protective permit. We do thank you for the changes that you've made and the work that you've done. But we believe that your motivation, and we hope the board's motivation going forward, will certainly include using this best forward-looking science in the permitting process to protect the aquifer. And we hope the district and its board will also realize the value of something else, that an ongoing stakeholder process with serious citizens and organizations offering serious input to critical issues that will continue to face this district and our communities should be instituted. There should have been an opportunity for some give and take here, some further discussions. We really appreciated the time Manager Totten spent with us. But this board doesn't operate in a vacuum, and you need to consider your communities, our stakeholders. And we would like to participate. We've asked this question before, and I'm putting it to you very narrowly in this context of these permits, these large permits. You've made great strides in trying to address how to handle these big permits. And I think we've proven that our input was thoughtful, careful, and way too rushed to do a very good job of it, but we did our best, and we want to continue that. This district does not operate in a vacuum, and we would like to participate more in a stakeholder process. We'll be watching to make sure that happens, and we will continue to ask you for that. In the meantime, I do applaud you for the time you spent on this permit. It's not lost on us what a great job you do and what issues you're faced with. But I can tell you, you asked for this job, and so when you ask for public comment, give us time to give you thoughtful and thought-provoking for you public comment. It was too short a process, and without our public officials helping us, we're afraid that we would have been virtually foreclosed from the night of December 2nd, when we first heard that this was even on the table, till comments were due that following the 7th, I believe. And then it got extended, so we've been scrambling. And we appreciate the opportunity to do that, but we would like it to be in a more forthright, longer process next time. Thank you very much for allowing us to speak to you tonight. We do appreciate that. There's no doubt about that.
Thank you, Michelle. Is there anyone who signed up previously that has made comments, would like to make comment on item 7? Yes, Linda, come on up. You have 3 minutes.
This is going to be about 30 seconds. I'm Linda Curtis, and I live here in Bastrop, and I have just a couple of things I want to share with you. Mr. Prinz, when you asked how many comments there were, I appreciate you asking the question, but I got to tell you, I almost burst into tears, and I feel very upset right now about this, because I cannot tell you the stress that we have been through. That woman right there with the gray hair, okay, with the white hair, we have been through hell this last week trying to make sure that we had substantive comments based on science. We hired a hydrologist. We're all volunteers here. We don't get paid to do this. I got to go out and raise the money to pay the hydrologist, and his comments are not fully here because we couldn't get it done in time. So when you ask about how many comments, just understand it wasn't I didn't harangue people to send in comments, because honestly, we didn't know what to tell them to consider. This is a very complicated deal here. So please, just understand that what we have been through here, I appreciate that all the comments about how hard you all work and all that you have done, but I want to say this. I want to ask you to ask yourself tonight, did you spend the time to go through this contract like we went through hell to do this last 2 weeks? If you did not, I want you to be honest with yourself and don't vote tonight on this. Take the time. You owe that to this community. The last thing I want to say is about Lee County. I live here in Bastrop County. I find it really objectionable that this meeting is here in Bastrop County. Lee County is going to suffer the most. And if we were in Lee County, I guarantee you there'd be a lot of people saying some things that maybe you wouldn't want to hear, but they had a right to say it. So that's all I got to say. I still love you.
Thank you.
Can I clarify my question?
Sure.
I read all the comments. My question was how many came in after the deadline was extended? I know how many comments there were.
So what are you saying about that, though? I mean, are you saying that because you extended the comments, it was a waste of time?
No, I'm not. I just wanted to know how many came in after the deadline was extended.
Okay, but you get my point that,
Yeah.
I mean, literally, we have a lot of smart people in this room, and they're still stumped by a lot of stuff that is being decided. And I feel very bad about that. But we did the best we could, and I think you guys should take whatever time you can to slow this down more. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone who signed up that spoke on item 5 that wishes to address item number 7? If not, then I will ask if our general manager, our board attorney, or our hydrologist wants to make any additional comments before the board takes up item number 7. Okay, so at this point, I will consider a motion regarding consideration of and possible action on application of 4-Star USA Real Estate Group Incorporated for operating permits and transfer permits for wells number 1 through 10 in Lee County, Texas. And just for clarification, David, there have been just a few changes that were incorporated into that permit, so that the motion should be included, those adjustments that you made?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. President, can I make a couple of comments?
Sure.
I'll try this. I'd just like to make a couple of comments before we go on. Someone mentioned that we didn't really give ourselves a good time to look at this. We've been working on this project for a couple of months, and we have all gone over all the records that we're going to vote on. A couple of things that I'd like to mention. One was one of the gentlemen mentioned that we gave a 12,000 amount to 4-Star, but we only required them to pump 6,000. And the reason we did that is we didn't want to force them to pump 12,000 if they didn't have a good place to send that water. We didn't want to waste 6,000 acre feet of water just to make a different outcome. That's why we said at least 6,000. The other thing that I wanted to mention was that you mentioned that you were going to get a hydrologist to work on this. One of the things that I like about this proposal is that this will require 4-Star to prove by the amount of water they take out of the aquifer whether or not they should be permitted to take out more. And it won't be a hydrologist working on it, it will be actual data that we're going to get from our system. And having said that, I move that the board approve the issuance of operating permits and transport permits for each of the 10 wells described in 4-Star's applications for operating permits and transport permits in the forms attached to the settlement agreement.
All right. The chair has received a motion to consider action to approve the applications of 4-Star Real Estate Group for operating permits and transfer permits for wells number 1 through 10 with the revisions as outlined by the board attorney. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second. Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve 4-Star Real Estate application, 4-Star Real Estate Group application for 4 operating and transfer permits for wells numbers 1 through 10 in Lee County with the adjustments stated by our board attorney. Is there any questions of the board? The only comment I'll say before I call for a vote, I think Keith eloquently summarized this. I can tell you I spent the whole weekend going through the documents and your comments. My middle son, who is getting married in 60 days, he got his household off from underneath him, and my wife is up there tonight, and I'm here. So if this wasn't important, I wouldn't be here tonight. With that being said, Oh,
Chairman, may I make a
sure.
I've heard some comments tonight about our original decision, 12,000 acre.
Right.
Sorry, I'm not used to these things. I heard some comments tonight about our original decision being 12,000 acre feet. That decision was based upon the evidence that we heard and we show that we heard at that time. I further heard comments that, well, now you're going to give so many to start with, 12,000 to start with, and they've got to pump at least 6,000 for 3 years before they can ramp it up to the next number. That 6,000 is not the limit that they can pump during that period of time. That is based upon our hydrology reports. That is a number that is necessary to be able to determine how the aquifer will react. And that number gives you some idea of what the 12 and up is going to do. And the next stage at the 15,000 and so forth, according to hydrology, gives you an indication of what the aquifer can do. If that's 6,000, or between 6 and 12, because the permit is for 12, if the aquifer can't handle it, if Four-Star can't show that the aquifer is not being damaged and that the DFCs are not going to be able to be met, it's over with. They don't get any more. And permit time, they have to have a new permit. They can be cut. And I was a member of the negotiating committee that worked to get this thing put together. And I agree with council. You know, I think it's a very good settlement. As Judge Fisher beat on us and beat on us and beat on us at every meeting, go slow. I think we've done that. And that was the reason for my second, and that was the reason that I think that it is a good settlement. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And again, I think you eloquently summarized how the mediation team approached this and the hours we spent. And also want to say that I believe the board has demonstrated tonight on very many areas that we did listen to you very closely and did make adjustments and did make some reconsiderations. And even further, there's an item on here that there was a lot of comment that we postponed taking action on for a further date. So with that being said, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carries. Thank you all for coming tonight. Wish you all a very Merry Christmas, and if we can be of assistance, please let us know. The meeting is adjourned.